Just gotta start the stream now. Just gotta start the stream. I just gotta start the stream now. And it looks like it is streaming. Yes, it looks like it is. Hooray! Hooray for technology! Hello, everybody. This is the Disneyland Man, and I'm assuming you're a Disneyland fan, so welcome. Welcome to my little corner of the Disney interwebs. It's been a long day, everybody. I can't speak for you, but my day has been kind of, I don't know, well, it's not like it's been very blah. And you know how that is. You maybe it's like you're rushing through the day, you've got all these things to get accomplished, and then you get things accomplished and you just kind of have a moment where you're just looking and time seems to not exist and there's no directionless. You know what direction I'd like to go to? Disneyland. That's what I need tonight. I need some Disneyland time. I need to be in the park. I would love to watch the fireworks. I would love to just sit on Main Street and listen to the beautiful music playing. I would like to get a churro because they're delicious. I would like to go on Rise of the Resistance because I still haven't done that. Nor have I done Mickey and Minnie's Crazy Train thing. I haven't done that ride. I'm not even sure if it's in. I thought it's in Disneyland now. I think it is. Man, I'm so out of touch, everyone. Oh, I apologize. But for those of you who are close enough to go to Disneyland, you are blessed. And I am jealous. Now they brought, like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the news about all the AP program coming back called the Magic Key program. And they have various keys that you can buy, levels, up to like $1,500 for the most expensive, down to like a few $100 if you're just okay with not going at all during the summer or weekends or holidays. Or basically, I think you can go Mondays to Fridays, assuming there's no holidays, Mondays to Fridays. That's the one I would probably, if I lived in Disneyland, I imagine that's the one I would want. Because I mean, I would like to go into the park during those busy times just to see stuff, but not, maybe not to take rides unless it was really like, oh wow, Pirates of the Caribbean has like a walk on, then I'd go on it. But I like short lines. I like it not too busy. I feel I am a little bit on the autism spectrum. My daughter is, and I see a lot of my stuff in her. I'm granted with her it's ramped up. But like a lot of the characteristics she has, I have as well. Just not, yeah, not. So crowds, not a big fan. Socializing, can't really. I'm not really good at it, which is why I love chatting through a device. There's like a level of protection. So anyway, I'm getting all distracted. You know why we're here today, right? We are here to talk about Boom, movie number 4 in Disney's live action movies. The first one was Treasure Island. Then was Robin Hood and His Merry Men. Then was The Sword and the Rose. And now, number 4, 1953, Rob Roy. Same year as The Sword and the Rose, incidentally. Rob Roy was filming when they released The Sword and the Rose. So they didn't even know what kind of reviews and reception The Sword and the Rose would get when they had already committed 1.8 million. You know what I need to do? I'm going to check something here. 1.8 million in 1953 is how much today? We're going to do 1.8 million. So I'm just going to a website here. And okay, so the budget of this movie in 1953 was $1.8 million in 1953. So in 2021, that would be the equivalent of about $17.5 million. So when you think about it, not a crazy amount. There's not a crazy amount of money that was going to this. 20. I mean, that's nothing today. Now it's, you're putting in, $50-60 million for a lower budget one. And if you're looking at a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, you're looking at hundreds of millions of dollars. So anyway, this was the third one. And, oh my goodness. Well, we'll get into the casting and stuff later. But I watched it for you so you don't have to. It wasn't a fantastic movie. It wasn't a bad movie, but it just didn't grip you the way a lot of Disney movies do. And that's kind of sad. What can you say? It didn't have a great reception. This was kind of the last, I guess, period drama that Disney did. I'm not like forever, but for a while, because they made Treasure Island, kind of a period drama, adventure, but a very specific time frame and based on a book. And then they made I'm drawing a blank. Robin Hood and His Merry Men, also kind of period piece in England, costumes and swordplay. Then they did Sword in the Rose, costumes, swordplay, period piece. Then they did this, costumes, period piece, swordplay. You see a common theme. The next movie in this line is 1954's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Not quite the same. Period piece, maybe, yes. Costumes, not so much. And swordplay, I don't think so. Though I suppose there's the whole harpoon. But anyway, enough of me babbling. Let's talk. Let's go. Let me just shut off the poster here. Boom. And let's begin. The early 18th century, when England chose German George I to be king, the Scottish Highlanders rose in revolt and fought bitterly to enthrone their own James Stewart. Yes. So that's how the movie begins. You see all these English troops marching off into the Scottish Highlands to do battle with those Highland rogues. They march and march and march. And incidentally, these are actually Scottish soldiers who have returned from the Korean War. Long story short, they've returned from a theater of war. And they got paid to dress up and come and do some battle against actors, which they said, okay. They got to dress up and play act and probably was enjoyable. There, and we're introduced to the lovely, let me just make sure I'm getting his name right, because it's James Justice. James Justice playing John Campbell, the second Duke of Argyll. The second Duke. Oh, that lovely scallywag. But, just for a reference, in this movie, okay, so he's Scottish. He's a Scottish lord, the Duke of Argyll. But he is with the English. But he's not a bad guy, okay? The Duke of Argyll, he just wants to negotiate a peace. He doesn't want to win the freedom for the Scotsmen through war and fighting and bloodshed. He's like, we can get them to give us our own kind of peace and leave us alone as much as we can, blah, blah, blah. But I bet he looks familiar to you guys, doesn't he? Yes, he does. Where have we seen him before? Oh, yes, Little John in Robin Hood and His Merry Men. Yes. Where else have we seen that scurvy scallywag? Oh, yes, King Henry in The Sword and the Rose. Apparently, this actor was loved by Disney, as were a lot of the actors in this movie, because we'll get onto this. He, of the last 4 Disney live-action movies, he's been in 3 of them. Kind of crazy. Oh, and there's Rob Roy. He's leading the all the Scottish people against, the Scottish warriors against, the fighters of the English, all those bad people. Obviously, Rob Roy McGregor. That is what we're doing here. Okay, let me just go back. So, Richard Todd, that's the actor. Richard Todd. Where have I heard this name before? I wonder, let me just... Oh yes, Robin Hood from Robin Hood and His Merry Men. So he was the lead in the second live action movie. But he still looks familiar. Where have we seen him before? Oh yes! Sir Brendan from The Sword and the Rose. Also the lead. So we've got the last four live action movie, or of the four live action Disney movies, he's been the lead in 3 of them. Robin Hood and His Merry Men did well. They jumped on to The Sword and the Rose, made it, and they were already filming Rob Roy when the results came back from Sword and the Rose, which were not great. And the ones for Rob Roy were not great either. So he disappears after this. I mean, he does acting and other stuff, but not that I've seen in a lot of Disney stuff. Anyway, so yes, this is Rob Roy. He fights. Oh my goodness. This is not shown. I should have edited in just a small part. The special effects in this were atrocious. I mean, I couldn't have done better at the time, I'm sure. But there's a battle scene going on in this early thing. If you guys find this movie, it's not on Disney Plus. I couldn't find it on Disney Plus. You'll have to order it. I think you can get it on YouTube though. Anyway, long story short, there's a battle going on, and then 3 Scottish warriors just kind of march in front of everything, and it's obviously green screened in post. This is all in post. They weren't actually there at that scene. And even Rob Roy, with his lovely Scottish brogue, he doesn't even really speak in a Scottish brogue. He just talks like an Englishman, which Richard Todd is. But anyway, long story short, a lot of, I think, post stuff was done, because there's quite a few scenes where it looks like there's stuff happening in the background, and then a very different lit actor in the front doing something. Not in this case, but it just reminded me of the battle. Oh, so there he is. There's Campbell with the English guy going, "Yep, look at them fighting. They'll learn their lesson. Just we don't want to crush them. We don't want to overkill them. They're just fighting for their land. So once they're beaten and we've got them, we'll let them go. Well, not let them go, but they capture some, including Rob Roy. So everyone goes back after the fight, but all the families are like, "Oh, where's my son? Where's my husband? Where's daddy?" But there's a group of people looking, where's Rob Roy? McGregor? Where's McGregor? Including this fair lass. Her name in this lovely play, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go back just so I can get it right, is Helen Mary McPherson McGregor. Helen. Well, let's just call her Helen. Helen. Or Mrs. McGregor later on. Spoilers. Helen is waiting for the man that she loves. McGregor. Rob Roy. And he doesn't show up. So she's sad. Doesn't she look familiar? Where did she come from before? Oh, yes, The Sword and the Rose. She plays the princess. Glenys Johns. So she was in the last movie. She was also in another Disney movie. What was that movie called? What was her role? Oh, yes, Mrs. Banks and Mrs. Poppins. So she's been in a handful of Disney movies. The lead in the last 2 of the 4. Last 4 movies, she's been the romantic lead in the last 2. So, and she's still alive. She's still kicking it. Well done, Mrs. Banks. Well done. So anyway, she's waiting. But alas. He's not there. So Rob Roy's mother's like, hey, I'm going to go and find out what's going on. So she goes and I'm going to ask him to free my son. He hasn't done anything wrong. So she goes to Campbell and, oh, my son, he's a good boy. He's just trying to do the right thing. And Campbell's like, but I'm trying to do the right thing and I'm trying to keep Scotland together. I just don't want people to die. So anyway, she asks him to release Rob Roy. He doesn't. But someone comes like, oh, I've got another appointment. I've got to go. You just wait here. He goes out and talks to this lovely chap here. What's his name again? Oh, the Duke of Montrose. Yes. The Duke of Montrose, he's like, we've got to crush the Scots. We've got to, keep them under our heel, blah, 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 yada. He looks familiar. Where have we seen him before? Oh, yes, he was the villain in The Sword and the Rose. My good, it's like they just reused this cast. They basically hired everyone from the last movie with the exception of the director, because for some reason the British Director Guild wouldn't release him. I don't know. I don't know the politics behind it, but they had to hire another one of his assistant from the previous movie. Anyway, so yeah, he was the villain in the last movie. He's the villain in this one. Where else has he been in? Oh, that's right. It's Alfred. Alfred from the Batman movies, the earlier ones, not the Christopher Nolan ones, but the ones with George Clooney and Michael Keaton and Val Kilmer. Good times, people. Good times. He's dead, unfortunately, which is sad because he was a good actor. And he makes a good villain. It's just weird. Weird to see. Anyway, but anyway. So he's like, are we going to crush him? Yes. We need to take these Scottish people back to England and make them stand trial. And Campbell was saying, no, that's not part of the deal. The Scottish prisoners are tried in Scotland, but they weren't having any of it. No, they're all going back to England. So he has to go and tell Rob Roy's mother, sorry, your son is going to England. He's going to London to stand trial. He'll probably die. So off they go, taking him, of course, out of all the prisoners, Rob Roy, because he's a clan chief, gets to ride in a carriage with Mr. Hoity-toity Alfred. And they, needle each other and insult each other. It's a lovely bit of male bonding. And then his men rescue him by disguising themselves as sheep. They don't actually disguise themselves as sheep. They actually just, use the sheep as a distraction. Oh, look, the road is blocked by all these sheep. I don't know. I'll try to get them out of your way, sir. I don't know how they ended up here on the road at the exact moment your carriage was driving by. So while all that is going on, these guys sneak in and knock everyone down, and Rob Roy is freed. Yay! But of course he lets the English people go. So then he goes back to his village and dresses up because now that he's fought, he's got a lady to woo, the lovely Helen. So that's what he does. He goes to see her. He dresses up as hey, if you're going to go and, try to woo your lady, you probably could do no worse. Well, you could do worse than dressing up in a kilt and tartan and making yourself look all fine. That's what he did. So he goes, and of course she plays all coy. Oh, you don't care about me. How are things? What are you? There's lots of men I like. I'm concerned about all their well-being, not just yours, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, he's like, oh, come on now. Will you marry me? I love you. Well, he doesn't really even say, I'm fond of you and you're beautiful. And I have a lovely house that could be yours. So she says, of course I'll marry. She's laughing because her dad is trying to irritate Rob Roy by playing the bagpipes during this, like testing him out and practice. So while this scene is going on, there's like horrendous noise. And she's like, hee. You have to say it louder. Will you marry me? Yes, I will. So anyway, Jump ahead. It's their wedding. He does a little limerick, and they drink and they dance. And in fact, normally I show you guys a trailer of the movie before we get into what the movie's about. No trailer for this that I could find online. It was curious. One of the videos I did find was the wedding scene, which I didn't include because it really reveals nothing of the plot. So, yeah, sorry, I guess. You can go to YouTube yourself and Google it and watch it, and I'm sure you will love it. Anyway, so they dance, they frolic. Everyone's having a lovely time when, the English show up. It seems that Campbell, the Scots who works with the English, has been politicking behind the scenes, and he's managed to arrange an amnesty for the Scotsmen. It's like, all Scotsmen, you're given amnesty for your crimes and rebellion against the kingdom. Except, sorry, man. Not enough caffeine today. Except the Clan MacGregor. All MacGregors are not given amnesty. They have to, and no one can have the last name MacGregor. Their lands are forfeit. You can't get married. No child can be christened a MacGregor. You have to get another last name. And Rob Roy, you are going to be arrested again because you're a bad influence on these people. And you're the clan chief. So an example must be set, blah, 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 blah. So he's just gotten married, and the night's not even over, and he's being arrested. So they're taken away. There's his mom and now his bride. She doesn't get prima nocta, I guess. They're watching him being carted off. It's sad. Sad, sad, sad. Oh, my webcam. I'm sorry, people. But for some reason, it's just irritating me that the green is there. And I just have to fix it. Can I fix it? No. I guess that kind of does it a little bit. So I'm going to hit close. It's still not great, but it's better than nothing. Anyway, so boom shakalaka, they're watching her. She's watching her son. She's watching her husband being arrested and carting off. What's going to happen to him? Oh, no. He's going to die. He's going to be taken and arrested and all that stuff. Well, he's already arrested. So off he goes for a second time back to London to be tried. He tells his men, don't do anything. Go back to the punch bowl, which is code, by the way. The punch bowl is a cave. So but the English people think he's just talking about go back to the party. Go back to the punch bowl, get some more punch. And he's arrested. And then, while his guards are distracted, he uses his manly strength to snap that twig that's behind him, that's holding his arms. It's just like snap. It's not like he doesn't go, no, it's just snap. Then he swims. Oh my goodness. Another example of bad CGI. I'm sure this is this is probably just a river. No, because when you watch this, it looks like there's just like a straight line where everything just kind of turns into a rapid. So all the ripples and stuff, yeah. Anyway, they're trying to get him, and he just swims, and then it's another horrible CGI. Well, it's CGI, computer graphic. Anyway. What does CGI stand for? Computer generated something? CGI? Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to do some research. Let's just call it a special effect. The special effect of him falling down the waterfall, not very well done. Anyway, so he gets to the cave. He gets to the punch bowl where the men are all waiting for his orders. We're ready to fight for you, sir. Let's go and kill all those Englishmen. He's like, yeah, no, actually, I don't even remember. What does he say? It's like, no, you guys follow the law. That's what he says. He says, I don't want you guys. I know you guys are eager for a fight, guys. I'm an outlaw. I'm on the run. That's what this effect this movie had on me, guys. It was not that exciting. Anyway, he's a rogue. I'm an outlaw. You guys aren't. Just go back to your families. Put your swords and guns up in the thatch, your roof, and just try to obey the law. Okay. Then he goes to his lovely wife and like, ooh, I'm free again. Let's kiss as I sit on the bed. And that's all he does. I hug and kiss. And of course, because he's escaped, they know where to look for him. So they come bursting in the door downstairs and like, where is he? Oh, I don't know where he is. But no, he's upstairs. And they chase him. And he runs and runs through the mountains of Scotland, the Highlands, crawling up cliffs. And then he jumps over like a ravine and runs off. And the guards are like, well, we're not going to jump over that ravine. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Richard Todd, you're not a very exciting man. Anyway, he escapes again for the second time. Meanwhile, the English are like, taxes, taxes. This is very reminiscent of Robin Hood. You know, hey, you need taxes, and we need all this money as well. And you know something? It's going to be doubling every year, and it's going to get more and more, and soon you'll have to sell your animals and your land and everything. But if you just give us Rob Roy, your taxes will be paid, and all will be well. Will you? And they say, sure. Yeah, why not? No, they don't. They say, no. But someone does say, hey, I'll take that. And it's Rob Roy himself. He's come to rescue them. He's like, hey, stop taking taxes from my people. If you take a shilling more than they're supposed to, I'm going to steal it. If you burn their crops, I'm going to burn your food storage. If you do this, if you hurt my guys, I'm going to kill 10 of yours. So he basically makes a whole bunch of threats. And, it works. They fight. And they do try and do all those things to the Scottish people. And so the guy goes back to give a report to the evil Alfred. It's like, hey, I need more men. That's why the report says I'm not collecting and the food situation is bad and all this. They're just, every time we do something, they do something work. And it's like, well, I'll go get some more men for you. And we will crush this rebellion. Except he says it in an English accent, which makes it sound awesome. So they go back to Rob Roy's family house, and they're basically taking all of his stuff. It's like, if you're taking our stuff, we're going to take your stuff. So they take everything. And they're just, his wife and mother are like, you don't leave us something. Seriously, if you don't fall asleep while watching this movie, kudos to you. Let me know how you did it. They're taking all the stuff, but of course, who shows up? Because I don't know. I got the feeling that there was a guard who was going to take his wife up into the bedroom. I mean, nothing as crude was ever mentioned, but I mean, he could have just been taking her up there to lock her up there, but I don't know. Maybe I'm isogeasing today's movies onto that. But anyway, he shows up and he fights off them, and she comes and they block the door, and they're like, what are we going to do? We got to go. But meanwhile, his mother gets out her husband's gun that she locked away, and a soldier peeks his head through the window to kill Rob Roy. So she shoots him, but unfortunately he shoots her back. It's kind of crazy. And one of the movie's continuity errors. Because if you'd like to know, long story short, she's supposedly shot right there. But later, like it's up high and it kind of moves around, and they never really show blood. I mean, it's a Disney movie, but that's not the case with Disney movies now. They would be like, let's empty out a bucket of blood. You never see any blood with her. So she just dies a genteel death. Obviously, that upsets Rob Roy a little bit. But there are more important things, like her funeral. So they take her to there's a funeral. It's very lovely. All the pallbearers carrying along. And while they're having the funeral, guess who shows up? Jerky McJerkface. The Duke of, Count of Montrose? Montrose, yes. I was just making sure I got the name right. The Duke of Count of Montrose. Anyway, he shows up, Alfred, with his men, and they're going to arrest Rob Roy at his mother's funeral. Obviously, not a very nice thing to do. Campbell's even there. He's like, that's really low, you guys. Arresting a man at his mother's funeral. And of course, he has all his men hiding around. So he like gives this signal, and they all stand up, and the evil Jerky McJerkface realizes that he's outnumbered. So they take off. And he's like, Rob Roy, we want the same things. We want peace for Scotland. We want freedom. They can take our lives, but they can't take our freedom. So, but I want to do it through diplomacy and like politicking. You want to do it at the end of the sword. Give me time. Keep your head low. Get back into hiding. Let me talk to the king. See what I can do. But, Rob Roy, he makes like a semi-attempt. He goes to like what's it called? Like, a garrison of English soldiers where someone's there. It's like, hey, we want, will we have a truce, and let's get along maybe and not fight. But what do? They shoot him. I mean, obviously he doesn't kill him, but they're like, okay, so I guess they don't want peace with us. So, war is coming. Meanwhile, back in London, that's the king. Is it the queen? I think that's the queen. Or no, it's the Countess von Palen, a Russian actress. Anyway, she's playing a countess, the wife of the King George. He's German. Anyway, all of London is in a Twitter about Rob Roy, that rogue Highlander. And oh, how romantic. And he's so dashing and daring and a real man of the people. Everyone loves stories. People are writing stories about the Highland rogue. And she's a fan as well. So she picks up like the stories and a little booklet, and she brings it back to the king, and they read it. Meanwhile, these very important men with wigs are talking about what they're going to do. And evil Jerky McJerkface wants 4,000 more troops. And they're like, oh, that's a lot of troops, man. Do you really need that many? It's, well, if you're going to beat them, we need to do it decisively. We need to run them to the ground and make a statement, blah, blah, blah. That's what you did at this war. And the guy's, well, I guess I was a pretty amazing general. And if you're going to quote my own tactics back at me, yes, we'll give you those troops. Oh, there she is. There's the king. He's like, ooh, he's German. I did not know that King George I was German. So they have him struggling to read this. She's helping him. But he's like, I like this Highland rogue. He's clever and Meanwhile, back in the Highlands, because he got shot, he tried to make truce. He's like, we're going to attack this garrison. So they sneak up one foggy night and they blast a hole in the front door. And they all rush in and there's a big fight. And the guy who shot him, that's the guy who shot him, by the way. He sets up a cannon down the stairs and he actually kills some of his own men in his eagerness to kill Rob Roy. But long story short, they get captured. Not the Highlanders, the English. He takes them. He captures the fort. And good old Campbell, the Duke of Argyll, shows up. It's like, you fool, I'm working behind the scenes to free Scotland and you're making it worse. I probably could have done something with the king, but now you've captured one of his castles and some of his soldiers. Like, are you stupid? Is your head lodged up underneath your kilt? It's like, I can't. They killed my mother. They killed my mother. I'm not even sure if he says anything like that, but, you know, he's got some emotional baggage. So that's what's happening. So he goes off. So, Duke of Argyll goes back to the king. He's like, please forgive him. If you can't, like, if you need to crush this, I am with you, king. I will fight with you. I will send my men. We will fight and we will get rid of this crazy Scotsman. I want you to like him. Like, I don't want anyone to die, but if I have to pick a side, it's going to be you, King George. And while they're talking, bagpipes are heard in the street. And of course, it's Rob Roy. He shows up. And all of London's like following him. Oh my goodness, this is the Rob Roy we've heard so much about. Let's follow him. And they follow him down the street to the castle. They let him in. Those guys right there with the halberds, like doing the old crossing, you can't enter. I find it kind of funny because they're like standing at the side. Also, you could just push the halberds and they would spin. It'd be one thing if they were standing like in front with the weight of their body behind it, like, then you're thinking, yeah, they're serious about not letting people in. But they're like, you could walk through. Just saying. And he goes to the king and he's like, I'm sorry. I want peace. You just don't hurt my men, my clan. And, whatever you want to do with me, that's fine. But just forgive the McGregor clan. And the king goes, you know what? Well, let's see. Oh, nope. Can't show that picture yet. The king says, you know what? You're a good Highland rogue. And Rob Roy says, well, you're a good king. Because the king obviously gave him back his name. Like, now he's like, okay, you guys don't have to change your McGregor name and all that and all that. And yeah, so that's the end of that. And then he stays in London for a little bit while the other guys that he was with go back home, and they're telling everyone in the village, oh, they're like whining and dining him. And, oh, you wouldn't, the women there, oh my goodness, the women, jewels and feathers and, oh, their shoes, high heels. They're like, oh my goodness. And Rob Roy's wife is like, oh, really? I hope he's okay. Are the women pretty? Do they look good? It's like, oh yeah, they look amazing. So she goes out to the door to stare off into the night because they're like, he's not going to be back for like at least a week. But he's there. It's like, hello there, missus. And she like runs. Oh, he looks so good in his kilt and tartan. And they make up and they make out in good Disney PG fashion. And then that's the end. That is the end. It's like an hour and 30 minutes. That's kind of the movie. It did not do well. I tried to find out how much it made. And I'll try one more time. Let me just do this one more time. How much did Rob Roy I don't think it is gonna tell me. I don't think it's gonna tell me. No, it won't. I saw a thing on IMDb, but you have to be a pro member for it to give you more box office information. But as far as I can tell, this was the last movie that starred Richard Todd and James Justice. This is the last kind of movie that Walt Disney made with RKO Pictures. Like after that, they just kind of went, nah. We had some success with Robin Hood, but the last two have kind of not done very well. And I think maybe they made their money back, but probably just a bit. We need to come up with something better, which is going to take us to our next week's film, which you probably have heard of. I think it's called something called 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which was a smashing success. Like these other movies that we've seen so far. Treasure Island, you could probably link a little bit to Pirates of the Caribbean, New Orleans Square in Disneyland, but the other ones have not had really any impact on the Disney franchise. But the next one, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, definitely did. I mean, that was the submarine ride. They changed the submarine ride to Captain Nemo's submarine voyage. I think that's what it was called for a while. So the submarines were actually, little versions of the Nautilus. And I think they even had some of it in Disneyland Paris, kind of keeping, anyway, yeah. I'm getting distracted. Next week, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That is on Disney Plus, so I highly recommend you watch it. So this is the episode. We talked about Rob Roy and the same actors that have been the last three movies, which next week, there'll be a whole new slew of them, thankfully. I mean, don't get me wrong, the other ones are fine, and it's nice to see kind of the next spark. Treasure Island was like the first spark of Disney live action classics. And then it kind of fizzled for a little bit with like they were enjoyable, and then 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, another spark. And we'll get into the other kind of ones because we're doing this in chronological order. So it's going to take 3 years. 3 years, people. Join me now. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you for stopping by. Put down your thoughts. What you if you watch the movie? Say you watched the movie in the comments. Let me know that I'm not the only one. And where did you find it? Did you have to rent it off of YouTube or Amazon Prime? Do you have a copy? If you want to send me the DVD copy you have, let me know. I'll give you my address. And we'll see you next week for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And love you guys. Keep that Disney magic. I'm going to go home and listen to some Disney music just to kind of perk up my spirits. And I hope it'll do the same for you. So see you next week.